On today's show, I'm giving my 2026 preview picks and predictions for the Big 12. Welcome in. This is Winning Cures Everything. It's a college football podcast. I'm your host, Gary Segars, at GaryWCE on all the socials. This is the Monday, August 3rd edition of the show. Today we are discussing the Big 12, which is the last of my conference previews. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to give you more of my favorite win totals, my future picks, along with playoff predictions, a whole lot more. And of course, once the season gets here, I'm going over a ton of games every single week, along with storylines, etc. But I'm going to do that all right here and at buymeacoffee.com/winningcures. So, for now, since you're here anyway, hit that subscribe button, like the video, jump in the comments, all that good stuff. Now, let's go on and get this pod rolling. All right, let's talk about the Big 12 because I think Texas Tech may have broken this thing, right? For years, the identity of this league has been one word, and that's been chaos. You look at the standings in September, feel like you had it figured out. 3 weeks later, the whole board just flips, right? Favorites lose to, whoever it might be on some weird Tuesday kind of road trip, whatever, right? Playoff contender is suddenly sitting in fifth place after a couple of Saturdays. Basically, everybody had a road to Arlington for the championship game, and nobody felt safe at any point because crazy stuff was going to happen. I don't think that's what this league is anymore, right? Texas Tech didn't back into the 2025 Big 12 title. They didn't survive a stack of coin flip games and slide through the back door. They beat the brakes off of this conference. 10 games against Big 12 opponents. Red Raiders won those by an average of over 27 points. They played BYU and Utah 3 times combined, outscored them 97-24. I don't feel like that's parity. Like that's separation, right? Now Tech, of course, rolls into 2026. They got one of the deepest rosters in the league. They got the best projected defense in the conference. Again, a running back room that, is borderline unfair, and according to my model, at least, the easiest schedule of any of the Big 12 title contenders. And the one wrinkle, of course, Sorsby out at quarterback, that makes this officially Will Hammond's team, and that turns into kind of a who's quarterback 2 story. And that's, that's the most important question in the league, really. Even with the uncertainty, though, Tech still the clear favorite. I mean, this roster is loaded. The real drama here is going to be everything that happens one level down, right? BYU, they've got the safest challenger profile in the league. Utah still has Devon Dampier, but nearly everything else around him got rebuilt. Kansas State, brand new head coach, that has some familiarity, obviously. And they've got a schedule that honestly looks like it was drawn up by a K-State booster, if we're being honest. Houston's got Willie Fritz and Connor Wegman, maybe the best collection of line play outside of Lubbock. However, they won a lot of close games last year. I don't know if that necessarily means they're ready to dominate, but we'll see. Arizona got Noah Fifita back and enough talent to be able to scare people, but to me, they also drew the hardest schedule in the conference, so good luck with it. TCU keeps winning, but now they got to replace Josh Hoover, who heads over to Indiana, and they're running headfirst into the best teams in this conference. And then Oklahoma State went 1-11. They fired Mike Gundy. They responded by basically importing the entire offense that led the country in scoring at North Texas. Not bad. Not bad. So, yeah, chaos is still here. It just has a much bigger hill to climb in Lubbock now. So the question for 2026, I think, in one sentence is going to be, has Texas Tech become the first true powerhouse of the rebuilt Big 12? Or does one of these 8 teams underneath them find a way to reel them in? Let's go ahead and jump into it. The easiest way to think about this league right now is that it's top-heavy in exactly one spot and pretty balanced everywhere else. Texas Tech is alone at the top of, pretty much everybody's projections. 7th nationally in SP+, averaging out to 10.7 wins, 7.8 conference wins projected. After that, BYU is 18th in SP+, Utah is 24th, Kansas State 29th, Arizona 30th, TCU 34th, Houston 36th, and Oklahoma State 39th. So you got one team that looks like they could be a national title contender, and then 7 more that are all bunched together in a fairly tight band back behind them. Texas Tech has got a 62.9% shot at reaching 11 wins in our model. Nobody else in the league even cracks 10%. Like that is a canyon between those two. I mean, what a huge difference. But from BYU on down through Oklahoma State, the standings could end up shaped more by, who's on the schedule than by who's actually the better team. And that's what makes the conference fun this year, I think. Texas Tech doesn't play BYU, Utah, or Kansas State this season. Kansas State doesn't play Tech, BYU, or Utah. BYU, they skip Tech, Kansas State, and Houston. Utah avoids Tech entirely. Meanwhile, Arizona plays basically everybody. They draw all 5 of the other top 6 teams. TCU, they play all 5 of the highest projected squads. Houston's got road trips to Texas Tech, to Kansas State, and Utah. So you could absolutely have a team finish second in the standings without being the second best team in the league. It's the way the schedule lottery hits sometimes. And on the flip side, you could have a legitimately good football team finish 7th just because it kept running into contenders every other week, right? You got 16 teams, not nearly enough overlap among the ones actually built to compete. And that's the hangover from realignment. Nobody's walking in this year, nobody's walking out, but the sheer size of this league means that the standings get warped by who you simply don't play. So you got to have and it's like this with every conference at this point, right? You got to have the right schedule and the right team in order to get to where you're wanting to go. The Big 12 is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, and get this, only 7 of the original 12 programs are still in this league. That's pretty wild, right? Pretty wild. It has changed almost beyond recognition, and Texas Tech is trying to become the program that defines whatever this new version turns into. Now, offensively, this conference is still quarterback-driven and creative as hell, right? You've got established guys like Bear Bachmeier at BYU, Devon Dampier at Utah, Noah Fifita at Arizona, Connor Wigman at Houston, Avery Johnson at Kansas State. You got big-name transfers that are coming in, too. Drew Mestemaker, of course, landed at Oklahoma State after being at North Texas. You got Jaden Craig at TCU, Alonzo Barnett III at UCF, DJ Lagway at Florida. At Baylor. I mean, these guys have been. Everybody's attacking it differently, right? BYU wants to control the game. L.J. Martin, 4 returning offensive linemen, a quarterback who already showed he can handle pressure as a true freshman last year. Utah, they want to lean on Dampier's legs, along with Wayshawn Parker, even though the entire starting offensive line is gone. Oklahoma State is going to play fast. Like Eric Morris brought his whole North Texas system with him. Houston wants experience. They want physicality. They're letting Wigman create as both a passer and a runner. Of course, they brought in the old running back from Tulane that went to Oregon, who now comes back over to Houston. So Arizona needs Fifita to keep making good decisions. Of course, the skill positions are being rebuilt around him. We'll see what happens there. UCF, of course, the dual threat identity that made Scott Frost's offense so dangerous back in the day, but they brought in Alonzo Barnett from JMU, from James Madison, fresh off a playoff appearance last year. There's also a massive coaching shakeup that happened across the league. Like the Big 12 got more creative this offseason, but it got a lot less stable, I think. You start at Utah, where Morgan Scalley steps in for Kyle Whittingham. That's one of the toughest transitions in the country because Whittingham wasn't just a good coach. He was that program's identity. Now, Scalley knows the culture. He's been there forever, knows what Utah is supposed to look like, but he's also breaking in a new offensive coordinator in Kevin McGivern. Colton Swan slides over to run the defense. So Utah, trying to keep its personality intact while swapping out basically everyone responsible for maintaining it. At Kansas State, Chris Kleiman retired. Collin Klein is taking over the reins. This is a fascinating one. Klein, his offensive background looks like it lines up perfectly with what Avery Johnson does well, and that's because he has already coached Avery Johnson at one point. Klein went over to Texas A&M for 2 years as the offensive coordinator, but he coached Avery Johnson that first year. Klein went to school at Kansas State. He played there. He knows that place. The question with Johnson, he's always had the tools. It's always whether Kansas State could turn those flashes into something consistent. I think Klein understands quarterback movement, understands how to scheme with a mobile guy, and he knows Manhattan, Kansas inside and out. He's still a first-year head coach that has got to deal with some major questions on both sides of the ball there. Oklahoma State, of course, Eric Morrison for Gundy after just a disaster 1-11 season, and he was 3-9 before that. This is not your typical rebuild. Morris brought in his quarterback, Mustamaker, brought his running back, Caleb Hawkins, receivers, Young and Coleman, offensive linemen. I mean, that a ton of most of his coaching staff, a handful of defensive players, all from North Texas. So Oklahoma State didn't just hire a coach; they brought an entire system along with the roster, and they just moved it right over to Stillwater. It's effectively what Iowa State did, moving everybody over to Penn State, right? Bringing up Iowa State, I mean, we got to bring up Jimmy Rogers. He replaces Campbell. Rogers and defensive coordinator Jesse Bobbitt, they've got solid rebuilding resumes, but, I mean, 55 players. I believe that's the number. 55 players left Ames through the portal. None of the meaningful offensive production is back. Only 5 defenders who logged 100-plus snaps are returning. That might be the toughest immediate job in the entire conference. But, I mean, we saw what Rogers was able to do in 1 year at Washington State when nobody was left over there either. So, who knows? Who knows? Got a few coordinator moves to point out as well. I mean, we can flag these just to keep an eye on it. Kelly Papinga takes over BYU's defense from Jay Hill. Joe Klanderman becomes Dave Aranda's third defensive coordinator at Baylor in the last 3 years, actually. Gordon Samus is running TCU's offense now. And he's expected to build something lower turnover around a new quarterback. Of course, the kid from Harvard. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued with this one. Of course, Samus coming from UConn, like they did really good things under Jim Mora. But now he's over at TCU. Andy Kotelnicki back at Kansas. That should be an instant schematic upgrade, even with the quarterback spot still unsettled. Brennan Marion, of course, brings his go-go offense to Colorado. Chris Marv has got to rebuild a defense there that replaces almost everybody. Nate Woody inherits a Cincinnati defense that lost most of its front and its secondary. I mean, the league has got more offensive ideas floating around than it did a year ago. What it might not have is the continuity to know which of those ideas would actually work right away. And nowhere does that uncertainty matter more than at quarterback, right? The established tier is legitimately impressive. Bachmeier, probably the safest quarterback among the tech chasers. I think that's what we'll call him. He played at a high level as a true freshman last year. He even came in late, got the starting gig, did good things. Right, they went 12-2 last year. He gets L.J. Martin back. They sit behind 4 returning offensive linemen. The concern at BYU is the receiver room, and sources vary on exactly how much is gone, but it's clear somebody new needs to step up outside. Dampier might be the most dangerous individual athlete. I mean, not just at that position. He might be the most dangerous athlete in the whole league. Like, at 24 touchdown passes, you cut down his mistakes. He finished with over 3,300 yards last year, 34 total touchdowns. Utah ranked 7th nationally in success rate and 1st in red zone touchdown rate. But he's also breaking in a new coordinator behind 5 new offensive line starters. That's not good. Fifita, of course, entering year 4 as Arizona starter. He's got over 9,000 career passing yards, 73 career touchdowns. I mean, that's bananas. He set a record last year. Program record. He had 29 scoring passes in 2025, and he doesn't turn the ball over. Connor Wigman at Houston, that's another one, threw for over 2,700 yards last year, added almost 800 yards rushing outside of sacks, and was responsible for 36 total touchdowns. Like, he gets Amari Thomas back in the slot, should have better protection up front this time around. And then I brought up Avery Johnson before, remains one of the most gifted athletes at the position in the country. Klein's job is turning him into a more natural, decisive runner, instead of a guy who occasionally remembers that he's pretty dangerous at doing that. And then, of course, there's Tech. Like, Sorsby was the original plan. He was the final piece on the roster that was built to win the league already. So that plan's dead. Will Hammond now inherits the most talented team in this conference, and the pressure is going to be on him big time. Big time. Now, Tech, to be fair, Tech doesn't need Hammond to carry the whole operation. Like, there's enough talent at running back, on the line, across the defense, et cetera, to protect him. But there is a real difference between plugging in an established transfer to elevate a national contender and asking a first-time starter to manage the expectations of a team that's sitting at even money to win the league. That quarterback change doesn't knock Tech off the top spot for me. It does shrink the gap between them and the rest of the field. I think the biggest spot is what it means for their national title hopes. Of course, Hammond's coming off of an injury. He should be better, or should be healed up, I would think. They said by week 3, but now it looks like he might start the season. We're going to see what that looks like.
Are you tired of sore knees or joints slowing you down? Go Sleeves uses built-in kinesiology tape technology to give you support, reduce pain, and help you recover faster. Use code WCE for 15% off over at GoSleeves.com.
You want extra Winning Cures Everything content and a way to support the show directly? Head over to buymeacoffee.com/winningcures and become part of the community today. All right, so let's sort these 16 teams into tiers, right? Starting with the 4 programs I think actually have a real shot at the conference title. Tier 1, we got Texas Tech. It's number 1. It's not really a debate. Best overall roster, deepest running back room, best projected defense, friendliest schedule, etc. You got Cameron Dickey, you got Jacoby Williams, you got Quentin Joyner. It gives them a backfield that can control games without dumping everything on Hammond's shoulders. The line is experienced. The receiver depth is improved. And on defense, yeah, they lost David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez, but they reloaded through the portal. I mean, you got A.J. Holmes, you got Adam Trick, Ben Roberts, Austin Romaine, etc. Bryce Pollock. It projects out to be the best front 6 and the deepest front 6 and the deepest secondary in the league. This team can beat you in multiple ways. Run it down your throat, create negative plays, win the field position battle. They'll out-depth you in the fourth quarter. I mean, the obvious question mark is what happens if Hammond isn't ready for, the weight of national title expectations. And I don't think anybody's necessarily expecting a national title, but by the time you get to the playoff, that's what they're going to be looking for. So what happens if one freshman quarterback mistake creates the single bad Saturday this otherwise bulletproof schedule was designed to avoid? Right? You look at the market. Market's got Tech at plus 100 to win the conference. Win total 10.5. Price kind of tells you everything you need to know. The world expects them to win this thing, and you're paying full price for that expectation. The ceiling here is an undefeated Big 12 run and a real shot at the national title. Floor is probably still 9 wins because the roster and the schedule are that strong. We'll move over to BYU. 12-2 a year ago, they bring back Bachmeier, a 1,300-yard runner, and L.J. Martin. 4 veteran linemen. That's about as good as you can get for a starting point. Experienced defense as well. Right now, obviously, we'll talk about that here in a minute, but veteran linebackers, strong cornerback room. Pass rush needs to take a step under Papinga. And, of course, losing Jay Hill matters more than people think, I think, because he wasn't just another assistant. He built that whole defensive identity there. Receiver room is the other question mark. Right, Bachmeier is maybe one of the better quarterbacks in this league, but somebody has got to consistently win outside and create some explosive plays for them. The schedule does help for BYU, right? No K-State, no Tech, no Houston. They sit at plus 550 to win the league. The win total, 8.5, right? Ceiling, probably another 11-win season in a playoff bid. And honestly, if you ask me which team stays functional even when things don't break perfectly, I'd say BYU. Right, established quarterback, proven back, continuity up front, defensive experience. That's a pretty safe floor. Utah is third. 11-2 last year. Dampier and Wayshawn Parker. They're both back. No Texas Tech on the schedule. BYU comes to Salt Lake. They draw 5 of the bottom 6 projected teams in the league. The path is there in front of them. But the obvious problem, of course, Utah is replacing almost everything that makes Utah, right? I think that's the biggest thing. New head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. All 5 starting offensive linemen are gone. The front 7 needs rebuilding. Dampier's legs can paper over some issues, but even the best dual threat guys struggle when there's 0 push up front, right? Utah at plus 650 to win it all. I say to win it all, to win the conference. Ceiling is probably 10-2 or 11-1. In a trip to Arlington, floor drops fast if that offensive line transition doesn't hold. And that might be the widest gap in the league between, what the schedule sets up and how much internal turnover they're trying to survive at the same time. Kansas State, my other tier 1. And I get it if you think they're not the 4th best roster in this conference. Like, you might be right. But they might not need to be, because Kansas State avoids Tech, BYU, and Utah entirely. They draw 3 of the bottom 5 projected teams and are only an underdog in one single SP Plus matchup all year. Like, that's how the schedule broke for them. Of course, Klein inherits Avery Johnson, some veteran pass catchers, Joe Jackson at running back. The Lions are getting rebuilt through the portal, which is a risk. And there's a new head coach, new defensive coordinator, and Jordan Peterson to account for too. But last year, Kansas State went 2-5 in one-score games. 5 of the 6 losses came by 1 possession. Like, tighten that up just a little bit, pair it up with this schedule. Suddenly, you're in Arlington without needing some dramatic leap in overall talent, right? Conference odds are plus 1,300. Win total at 7.5. Ceiling is 10-2. I think the floor is probably 7-5 if the Lions never settle, right? So Texas Tech, best team. BYU, most dependable challenger. Utah's got the quarterback in a friendly draw. Kansas State has got the cleanest roadmap, right? Those are the 4 contenders. As far as tier 2, these are your dark horses. The teams that I've got dangerous enough to sneak into Arlington, but each one has got like a structural flaw that's keeping it out of tier 1, right? Houston, I think, leads this group. Fritz has built a mature roster. Experience at quarterback, strength on both lines. They're bringing back 65% of their production, 17th nationally. Wigman was responsible for 36 touchdowns. Amari Thomas is back in the slot. That's awesome. Mekhi Hughes, of course, I brought him up. He bolsters the run game. I'm sure he's glad to be back with Willie Fritz after going over to Oregon. But, Houston has added 3 all-conference transfers up front. Slade Nagel's offense jumped from 118th to 44th in SP Plus last year. That's pretty good progress to me. This is not a gimmick team. Like, they can be physically good. The problem is the schedule and the close game history. Houston won 6 one-score games last year. It's real hard to run that back twice. They've also got 5 conference road games. That includes Texas Tech, Kansas State, and Utah. And their final 7 games are all projected within 1 score. Like, they're plus 1,600 to win it, 7.5 win total. Yeah, ceiling 9 wins in a title game trip. But the floor is maybe 6 wins if those close games start bouncing the other way. Like, there's a lot of people that have Houston as their sleeper team, but I'm concerned, I think. Arizona, I've got next here. Grab a drink of my coffee. So Arizona is they've got one of the more experienced quarterbacks in the country and a defense that should stay in the top half of the league. Danny Gonzalez, of course, the defense coordinator there. He's still got Chase Kennedy, Tay Brown, Javion Cole, plus some useful portal additions on defense. The biggest asset on this team is obviously Fifita, right? He's seen it all. He protects the ball. He keeps Arizona competitive even when the rest of the offense isn't clicking. But the leading rushers and receivers all need replacing, and the schedule is brutal. It's just rough. Arizona plays all 5 of the other top 6 teams. You got road trips to BYU, Texas Tech, and Kansas State. Like, that late season stretch here, they've got Texas Tech, TCU, Utah, Kansas State, Arizona State. That's ridiculous. Arizona might be genuinely good. Like, they might be good enough to compete for a title, and they still might finish 7-5. So they're plus 2,000. Win total sits at 7.5. Ceiling is probably 9 wins. The floor is probably 6. Somewhere in between there. It's almost entirely because of who's on the schedule, right? TCU, I've got number 3 in my tier 2. 9 wins in back-to-back years. Sonny Dykes has built a pretty reliable floor, and the defensive line could be one of the better groups in the entire league. You got Jamel Johnson, who gives them high-end individual talent. The staff should improve a secondary that was a real problem in 2025. Quarterback, of course, Jaden Craig, Harvard transfer. He put up almost 5,300 yards, 48 touchdowns, and just 10 picks over his last 2 seasons. These are great numbers, but the question, obviously, is whether or not that translates from the Ivy League over to a Big 12 schedule that includes all 5 of the top projected teams. TCU closes with 4 straight contenders in November. It is a rough way to start the year, or to finish the year after they started with a new quarterback. They're plus 2,000. same as Arizona. Win total is at 6.5. Ceiling is probably 9 wins for them. Floor around 6, I would imagine. I mean, unless things just go way off the rails. And then to me, the most entertaining team in the conference, Oklahoma State. Went 1-11 last year, fired Gundy, brought in Eric Morris, brought the whole North Texas offense along with others with him. Mestamaker threw for around 4,300 yards in that exact system last year. Caleb Hawkins followed him to Stillwater. Wyatt Young followed him. Miles Coleman jumped over. Multiple linemen followed. I mean, the language, the timing, the reads, like it's all already familiar, and that matters enormously when you're trying to rebuild in a hurry. Like, Oklahoma State could have a top 20 offense right out of the gate. And, now we're wondering whether the defense can just get to average. Skylar Cassidy doesn't need to build one of the best units in the Big 12. He's just got to – he needs to keep the Cowboys from bleeding so many points that the offense has no margin left. And the schedule does set up beautifully, right? Bottom 5 projected teams, only one top 6 opponent all year. Like, outside of Oregon and Texas Tech, almost every game looks winnable for them. So they're plus 2,700 with a win total of 5.5. Floor is what? Floor is probably 5-7 if the defense can't handle power forward size and speed. Ceiling probably 9 wins, and they could really be in a chase for the title. So, wrap up Tier 2. Houston and Arizona, good teams stuck with terrible schedules. TCU's got winning pedigree, but major quarterback transition. Oklahoma State's got the offense, the schedule, and the widest range of outcomes of anybody in the league. Tier 2, I think, is chaotic. So let's talk about Tier 3 now. Arizona State. They open the third tier. They're coming off an 8-win season. We are now 2 years removed from the playoff run. The roster that produced that 8-win season last year is basically gone. Sam Leavitt, gone. Jordan Tyson, gone. Raleek Brown, he's off to Texas. All 5 starting offensive linemen, gone. Only 11 of 34 regular contributors are back. Quarterback competition between Cutter Boley, Mikey Keene, Cameron Dyer, and Jake Feet. It might be Fett. You guys correct me in the comments. Boley is holding the early edge based on everything that I've read so far. They also play 4 of the top 5 projected teams, and thanks to an early bye, they have to grind through 9 straight weeks without a break. Like, a recent winning standard, sure, but the roster looks a lot more like a rebuild than a contender. So my range for this bunch, probably between 5-7 and 7-5. I don't expect much out of Arizona State this year. UCF. All right, this is a fun one. Much brighter outlook, I think, this year. Alonzo Barnett III comes in at quarterback. He threw for over 5,400 yards, added about 1,400 non-sack rushing yards, and accounted for 71 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons at James Madison. That's a major upgrade at the position for them. The secondary is pretty senior-heavy. You got Jaden Bellamy. You got Antoine Jackson, DJ Bell. It could be one of the best pass defenses in the league if the transfer pass rush comes together. And the schedule, pretty manageable too. Like, no Texas Tech, just one projected top 5 team. They host BYU right after the Cougars play. Right after the Cougars play Notre Dame. And UCF might start slow while the offense gels, but there's a real path to 6 or 7 wins here. Baylor, of course, is betting everything on the physical upside of DJ Lagway. Former Florida quarterback there, blue chip talent. Still an inconsistent decision maker. Almost the entire supporting cast is new for them, including 4 new starters up front. Joe Klanderman, he's there to fix a defense that's been a persistent issue, and Baylor spent big in the portal to help him. Aranda is on one of the hotter seats in the country, and the schedule offers zero mercy. It's the 3rd hardest draw in the league, closing with BYU, Texas Tech, and Houston. The ceiling, I think, for Baylor, probably 7 wins if Lagway develops pretty quick, and if Klanderman, of course, fixes things on the other side of the ball. The floor is probably 5 or fewer wins if that new-look offense never finds its footing. Like, it doesn't help that they have to play Auburn in week 1, but if they win there in Atlanta, I mean, who knows? Who knows what to think of them? Kansas brings back Kotelnicki to run that offense. That should immediately make them harder to prepare for. The running back room got a pretty nice boost there. Quarterback still unsettled between Cole Ballard and Chase Jenkins and Isaiah Marshall. All 3 have got dual threat traits, which works for this offense. none have shown that they are capable of replacing Jalen Daniels yet. Not to mention Kansas has 5 conference road games. They've got Missouri outside of the league, and they've got a conference game overseas. Like, bowl eligible, sure. Between the quarterback uncertainty and all that travel, I don't know if I'm going to be able to trust them week to week. Cincinnati, strong offensive line, mountain of questions everywhere else. They got to replace Sorsby. They've got J.C. French, Liam O'Brien, Samaj Jones. They're all in the mix. French, I think, looks like the favorite, but it's still a major step down in proven production. Defense is a full reset under Nate Woody after they lost most of the front, most of the secondary. They got the second hardest schedule in the whole league, like 6 of the top 7 projected teams. That offensive line might keep this from turning into a complete disaster, but it doesn't fix everything else. West Virginia, I think, closes out Tier 3. Cam Cook, of course, he came over from Jacksonville State, massively raises the ceiling on that run game. And at quarterback, you got Michael Hawkins Jr., who I think is going to start, and then Scotty Fox. And they offer 2 very different flavors of upside, right? Fox, of course, flashed some promise. Hawkins carries the bigger recruiting pedigree, and I think fits more of what Rich Rod wants to do. To me, the issue is on defense. Only 2 experienced guys back from last year's rotation, and they play 6 of the top 8 projected teams. Like, there's enough offensive juice to steal a game they're probably not supposed to win. I don't think there's enough defensive stability to string together, like, 6 good Saturdays. So in this tier, to summarize it, UCF has got the best mix of the schedule and quarterback upgrade. Arizona State has the highest recent ceiling, but the steepest roster losses. Baylor, I think, has the highest quarterback ceiling. Cincinnati might have the nastiest combination of schedule and personnel decline in the whole conference. Not good. So now, down at the bottom, our rebuilds, T4. That's right, Tier 4. Iowa State and Colorado sit at the bottom. Right, Matt Campbell left Ames for Penn State. 55 players, roughly 55. I don't know if that's the exact number, but they hit the portal behind him. There's almost no returning offensive production. Only 5 defenders who logged even over 100 snaps. Jalen Rayner and Zane Flores are battling a quarterback. Rayner with the edge in production and mobility, of course, at Arkansas State. Rogers and Bobbitt are legitimately capable coaches. They've done good things. And Iowa State does have one of the easier schedules in the league, which could keep them in the bowl conversation, but this isn't a reload at Iowa State. This is close to a teardown and fully rebuild it, right? Colorado coming in off of a 3-9 season, and we got another reset under Deion Sanders. Julian Lewis, freshman, expected to he's expected to do good things, right? And he is going to be the entire offense. Like, they added a strong group of portal receivers. Danny Scudero among them, of course, from San Jose State. And Brendan Marion comes in as offense coordinator, should bring some creativity to that attack. The defense is a concern. 28 of Colorado's top 31 tacklers are gone. Let me repeat. 28 of their top 31 tacklers are gone. So Chris Marv is there. He's trying to build something functional with 0 continuity. And this is the 3rd or 4th major roster reset of the Deion era. Like, there's individual talent on this roster. There's very little evidence yet that it fits together. Iowa State has the more trustworthy developmental staff. Colorado's got the more explosive collection of individual athletes. Both need a boatload of newcomers to gel immediately. I have no idea what that's going to look like. Shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. The latest WCE merch is now available. Support and rep your favorite college football show today. Just visit winningcuresEverything.com/store. If you can't watch the show live, no problem. Subscribe to the Winning Cures Everything audio podcast and never miss an episode. Of course, make sure that you leave a 5-star review, and don't forget, it's available everywhere you get podcasts. So what is the biggest strength of this league? Right? It's got a legitimate national title threat. Texas Tech isn't in the playoff conversation just because somebody from the Big 12 has to make the field. They project as a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense with an elite backfield rotation, an experienced line, disruptive portal additions on defense, and a schedule with almost no obvious landmines until deeper into the year. Like, the quarterback situation lowers that certainty a bit, but the roster is still good enough to hang nationally. The second strength is quarterback depth. You got Bachmeier, Dampier, Fifita, Wegman, Johnson. That's a legit upper class. Mestamaker, I think, could fit in there. Barnett, Craig, Lagway. Like, that gives you a fascinating transfer tier that's right underneath. And Hammond might be the single most important wild card in all of college football, given that he is stepping into the program with the clearest title expectations in the whole country. The running backs are pretty outstanding, too. BYU has got L.J. Martin. Tech, of course, has Dickey, Williams, and Joyner. Utah has got Parker. Oklahoma State has got Hawkins. Yeah, West Virginia's got Cook. Houston's got Hughes. Kansas State has got Joe Jackson. Like, this is not a league where everybody's just chucking it 50 times a game. Several contenders can flat out control a game on the ground, and that's good. Coaching variety is another real advantage. Joey McGuire built Texas Tech through recruiting, through resources, and now it's, of course, aggressive roster acquisition. Kalani Sitake built a physical culture at BYU. Fritz has got a long track record of building pretty functional programs. Dykes knows offense inside and out. Collin Klein understands quarterback development. Morris understands tempo. Like Kotelnicki, he understands misdirection and chaos. Boy, it'd be fun to watch him back with Kansas. Marion, of course, bringing the go-go offense to Colorado. Every single week, you are facing a completely different style of football, which could make this a whole lot of fun. And the portal work around the league has been impressive, right? Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Houston, Colorado, Kansas State, West Virginia, UCF, all made moves that could genuinely raise their ceiling this year. Now, the Big 12 might not match the SEC or the Big 10 in overall blue-chip depth, but it's got enough quarterbacks, got enough coaching creativity, enough transfer talent to make almost every single game uncomfortable. Now, as far as the weaknesses, to me, the biggest one is schedule imbalance. The teams that are most likely to actually challenge Texas Tech often just don't play them. Like, that sets up a bizarre championship race where avoiding the best teams might matter more than beating them. And it kind of sucks that Texas Tech is not going to play anybody other than Houston that could really be a threat to them. Offensive line turnover is another huge concern for this conference. Utah and Arizona State are replacing all 5 starters. Kansas State, of course, leaning heavily on transfers. Baylor is replacing 4 starters. Iowa State is starting over from scratch. Colorado totally unproven up front. Like, a lot of teams have really good quarterbacks who might not get any kind of protection. Like, it's going to be tough. Defensive uncertainty. That's my number 3 as far as weaknesses. That's just as widespread. Like, Oklahoma State needs to prove it can just get to average. Baylor's been bad defensively for multiple years running. Colorado is replacing nearly the entire unit. West Virginia has got 2 experienced rotation guys back, and that's it. And TCU, fixing a pass defense that was just a complete and utter disaster. Cincy, of course, is rebuilding both levels at once. The league is deep, but it's also pretty fragile. Like, a lot of these teams are one bad quarterback read or one whiffed portal evaluation or one line injury away from dropping multiple tiers overnight. That's not good. Regression is another weakness for this conference at number 4. Like, Houston won 6 one-score games last year. Kansas State lost 5 one-score games. Both of those could easily swing the other direction. Arizona State won only 1 conference game by more than 5 points. Like, Baylor's got 8 games projected within a single score this year. Oklahoma State has got 7 league games projected within 6.9 points. Realistically, this whole conference could be decided by a handful of fourth quarters this year. All right, let's talk about key players and units. Now, my top quarterback in the league heading into the season, to me, is Bear Bachmeier. Best combination of proven ability, supporting cast, and overall stability. Now, my number 2, Dampier, might be the most dangerous runner. Fifita might be the most polished passer. Wigman might mean the most to his team's identity. Johnson might have the highest ceiling automatically. Mestamaker could put up the biggest raw numbers. But Bachmeier's situation is just the cleanest, top to bottom. Dampier is number 2. He can change a game even when the blocking in front of him is not changing the game. Hammond's impossible to rank with any confidence right now because the entire Texas Tech offense hinges on how fast he gets comfortable after that injury. Fifita belongs near the top purely based on experience and decision-making. Wigman and Johnson, and I'm wondering if it's Wigman or Wegman. I don't know how many times Anyway, I just looked at the Connor Wegman picture that's on here. That ain't right, is it? Anyway, so after that, then of course Mestamaker, Barnett, and then Craig would be my number 9. The most talented offense in the league, I think, is still Texas Tech. Quarterback picture is a bit murky, but the overall personnel is the best in the conference. Your outstanding backfield, experienced line, upgraded receivers. BYU is the most stable offense among the challengers because Bachmeier, Martin, and 4 veteran linemen give you such a strong foundation to build on. Utah has got the most dangerous quarterback-running back combo in the league, but that offensive line is going to determine everything about their season. Oklahoma State, I've got them at 4. Most explosive. Well, I think it might be the most explosive new offense in the conference, and obviously it's because we've already talked about this. Installing a system that brings in everybody from another school where they already had a great offense. Right? The people running it have already run it together. They were just somewhere else. Houston, that's the offense that I could quietly, I think it could quietly become one of the more complete units in this league. Like, Wegman can throw it, he can run it. Thomas is one of the better receivers in the conference. Hughes strengthens that run game. What he did at Tulane was great. He went to Oregon, he disappeared, now he's back with Fritz. I think that's good. The line adds 3 all-conference transfers. Kansas State, they got the athletic quarterback, they got the running back, they got some experienced pass catchers. Klein's whole challenge is getting a transfer-built offensive line to gel. As far as the best defenses, Texas Tech clearly number 1. Best projected front 6. They've got the deepest secondary. I mean, you got Holmes, you got Trick, Roberts, Pollock, etc. I mean, it's a collection of disruptive players that nobody else in this league can match. BYU is next, of course, thanks to some veteran linebackers, a strong cornerback room, and overall experience. Pass rush has got to improve, but the foundation is pretty sound there. Utah stays dangerous because Scally knows exactly what that defense is supposed to look like. You know, you got Jonathan Hall, Jackson Binney. They anchor a strong back 7, though the line still needs to be rebuilt. Arizona, at number 4, they should be solid against the pass, and Gonzalez has enough talent to build a top half unit. UCF's secondary might be one of my favorite groups in this conference, right? They bring experience. They've got versatility. The missing piece there is consistent pressure up front. I'm just curious to see what they're going to look like. A few more names to keep on your radar for this season. Amari Thomas at Houston. Wyatt Young at Oklahoma State. Amari Miller at Arizona State. Jordan Dwyer at TCU. Braden Pegan at Utah. And Kenny Johnson at Texas Tech. Now, on defense, Wendell Gregory could be a real difference maker at Kansas State. Cade Ulave and Isaiah Glasker, they lead the way at BYU. Jamel Johnson, critical for TCU. Gideon Lampron at Colorado is one of the few established pieces on a completely rebuilt roster. The talent, the individual talent in this league is good enough across the board. The question for most of these teams is whether the units surrounding that talent stay healthy and stay coherent. Let's talk schedule dynamics, and no section in this preview matters more than this one because the Big 12 schedule is nowhere close to balanced this year. Arizona has got the hardest conference draw in my model. Cincinnati's 2nd, Baylor's 3rd, TCU 4th, Kansas 5th. On the flip side, Texas Tech got the easiest path of any contender and really of any team. And it's ridiculous. Kansas State is right behind them. UCF, UCF, Utah, and Oklahoma State also drew pretty favorable schedules. Arizona's schedule is almost unfair when you actually look at it. They played the other 5 teams in the projected top 6. You got road trips to BYU, Texas Tech, and Kansas State. And then that late stretch, like Texas Tech, TCU, Utah, Kansas State, and Arizona State. Good luck with that. Like, it's insane. They could still finish with less wins than last year and actually be a better football team. Cincinnati's draw might be worse because they've got fewer established strengths to lean on. 6 of the top 7 projected teams, a lot of the winnable games are actually on the road. There's a real scenario where Cincinnati opens 0-6 in conference play. And then Baylor has the third hardest draw. They close with BYU, Texas Tech, and Houston, and that is just a miserable finishing kick for a team that's breaking in a new quarterback and a mostly new offense and yet another defensive coordinator. Right? TCU plays all 5 of the top projected teams. They finished with 4 straight contenders in November. Kansas has 5 conference road games, plus Missouri outside the league, plus an overseas game. Travel alone is going to wear on that team. But you flip it and you look at Texas Tech. They got no BYU. They got no Kansas State. They got no Utah. Not a single projected top 90 opponent on the non-conference slate. Every road trip looks manageable. They only leave the state of Texas once in the entire month of November. The schedule was built for a championship game appearance. Kansas State gets nearly the same treatment. They avoid the 3 teams most likely to give Texas Tech trouble. They're underdogs in only one projected matchup all season, and that's at TCU. UCF plays just one projected top 5 team, and they skip Texas Tech entirely. Utah draws 5 of the bottom 6. They avoid Tech, and they get BYU at home. This ain't bad for this bunch. Oklahoma State draws the bottom 5 projected teams. They face only one top 6 opponent. That's why I keep coming back to the idea that the second place in this league might not actually be the second best team. Right? The standings are going to reward whoever drew the cleanest path. So let's take a quick look at the calendar. Of course, the first real conference test comes September 12th with Arizona at BYU. Immediate read on whether BYU is really the safest challenger, and it's the opening shot of Arizona's, brutal league slate. Just tough. September 18th, massive spot. Houston at Texas Tech. That's on a Friday night. Houston's chance to prove that it belongs in the title conversation. October 3rd, BYU at TCU. Tough early road test for Craig and for, that wouldn't be a road test for Craig, excuse me. TCU's at home. But a real challenge for the Cougars there. October 10th, Houston at Kansas State. That can end up being a championship eliminator. October 17th, Notre Dame at BYU. Massive opportunity for BYU to build a playoff resume. The following week, you got Houston at Utah. 2 teams both trying to stay within shouting distance of Tech. Halloween, Arizona at Texas Tech. Probably the toughest game left on the Red Raiders schedule at that point. November 7th. This is a lot of fun. Is Arizona really going to be the toughest game on that schedule? I think Tech going to Oklahoma State could be interesting. But anyway, the Holy War is on November 7th. Real chance that game ends up deciding who finishes second in the league. November 14th, of course, Texas Tech going to Oklahoma State. Cowboys offense should be fully clicking by then. Stillwater gets loud when the program is relevant. That same week, Utah at Arizona. Huge implications on that one. And then TCU at Texas Tech closes out the regular season. That's going to be interesting. November 28th. I'm interested. Late season slate strongly favors the Red Raiders. Strongly. So I'm excited about this. But there's that schedule's wild. That conference schedule is so nuts. Hit that subscribe button and make sure to like the video. And if you're listening to the podcast, of course, make sure and visit Winning Cures Everything on YouTube at youtube.com/winningcureseverything so you don't miss any of our college football coverage this season. All right, let's talk about the championship race. My projected title game, I'm doing Texas Tech against BYU. Tech has got the roster, the defense, and they've got the schedule. BYU has got the most stable mix of quarterback play, running game, offensive line experience, defensive maturity out of all the challengers. And BYU dodges Tech in the regular season, which actually helps both teams get to Arlington without beating each other along the way. Now, my first team out, Kansas State. They might enter November with a cleaner record than BYU, given how friendly that schedule is. But my hesitation is asking a first-year head coach and 2 transfer rebuilt lines to be championship caliber right out of the gate. Now, I've got Utah right behind them. Schedule sets up pretty much every opportunity in the world. Utah and Kansas State almost the same for me. Great quarterbacks. I think I trust the two first-time head coaches, but I feel like Kansas State has the easier schedule. Like, I think that's my biggest thing there. Houston's got the roster to stay in it, but that road schedule is a big problem for me. Arizona and TCU both have enough talent, but their schedules could eliminate them early in November. They could be out of this thing. And Oklahoma State is the team that crashes the whole conversation if that defense can just find some kind of footing. So my champion is going to be Texas Tech. Even with Hammond stepping in for the Sorsby plan that everybody expected, Tech is still the most complete team in this league. They got the best defense, the best backfield, the deepest roster, schedule, etc. And remember, this team didn't sneak through 2025. They just dominated everybody. Now, the risk is pretty obvious. Hammond being handed enormous expectations right out of the gate. And Tech, of course, replacing two nationally elite defenders with a market that leaves zero room for a normal, everyday upset. But I'm still taking the Red Raiders to beat BYU and to win the Big 12. High confidence that they get to the championship game. Slightly less confidence that they win it outright because one-game title matchup can humble even the best team in the country. All right, let's talk numbers. Texas Tech plus 100 to win the conference. BYU plus 550. Utah plus 650. Kansas State plus 1,300. Houston is plus 1,600. Arizona and TCU both plus 2,000. I don't trust Arizona State at plus 2,200. Oklahoma State at plus 2,700 is somewhat interesting. Everything beyond that is 3,500 or worse or better, whichever way you would like to say it. Texas Tech is the right football pick and a rough betting price. Like plus 100 is out there. Some places it is juiced at minus money. So it's a rough betting price. It's not me fading them on the field. I think they're the best team in this league. But at even money, they got to win the whole thing more than half the time just to make the bet worthwhile. And that's a tough number to stomach with a new starting quarterback and a title that still comes down to one game. There was at one point, there was like a plus 200 number. I mean, that value is long, long gone. And at one point, it was, minus 140 to win the conference. Plus 100 is all right. Arizona State is the overvalued team here. Coming off 8 wins, yeah, but I don't think the market is fully priced in how much talent walked out the door. Quarterback gone, top receiver, leading rusher, all 5 linemen, like tons of stuff. Most of the sack and tackle for loss production on defense is gone too. Like, you have 4 top 5 projected teams on the schedule, 3 of them on the road, and you got 9 straight games after an early bye. Arizona State's going to be a hard pass for me. Houston, softer fade. I do like the roster, and I like the coaching staff. I just don't love betting on a team that won 6 one-score games last year, run that same trick while traveling to Texas Tech, Kansas State, and Utah. I just don't see it. The best value on the board, if you were looking for a long shot for Big 12 championship odds, is going to be Kansas State at plus 1,300. Like, they avoid Tech, they avoid BYU, they avoid Utah. It's the second easiest schedule in my whole model. Underdog in only one game, and they've got a natural bounce-back spot after dropping 5 one-possession games a year ago. Like, Kansas State doesn't need to be the second-best team in the league to make Arlington. They just got to cash in on that schedule. I think that's the easiest way. The best longer shot on the board is going to be Oklahoma State, plus 2,700. Like, built-in continuity on offense, bottom 5 schedule. And there's really only 2 games that look overwhelming on paper. That's Oregon and Tech. Like, the catch is obvious. Like, I genuinely don't know if the defense can hold up, and that's why it stays a long shot play and not a top-of-the-card pick. UCF, plus 5,000? Like, that's more of a deeper kind of schedule-based option if you want to dig further down the board. Like, they upgraded at quarterback. They've got a potentially excellent secondary. There's no Texas Tech on slate. Like, I don't think the roster is quite ready to win the whole league, but the path and some of that depth could certainly keep them relevant a lot longer than the number suggests. On win totals, so my favorite is Kansas State over 7.5. Schedule backs it up. Close game results have room to normalize. Excuse me. Klein and Johnson, that's a lot of pairing quarterback. coach. They can get to 8 wins without beating a single one of the best 3 teams in the conference because none of them are even on the schedule. Favorite under? Cincinnati, under 5.5. Second hardest schedule in the league. 6 of the top 7 projected teams. A real downgrade at quarterback, and a defense being rebuilt at both levels simultaneously. Now, the offensive line can keep them competitive. It doesn't fix everything else that's uncertain. I would pass on Texas Tech under 10.5. Like, there's too much variance with the quarterback change. I would lean on BYU over 8.5. It's not a top play for me, but I do like it. Arizona State, I would lean under if you can find a number around 7. 6.5, I probably wouldn't touch that. I don't know. I trust Kenny Dillingham. Lean over on Arizona State 5.5, given the schedule and that offensive continuity. I would lean over on UCF. I mean, 5.5, better quarterback, strong secondary. Yeah. And then Colorado, there's been a bit of a push after media days. People think that maybe they could be all right, and the portal talent certainly helps. But I look at that schedule, I look at them overall, I am way less comfortable with Colorado going over 4.5. So I would lean under on that one. But yeah, my two strongest win total positions, Kansas State over 7.5, Cincinnati under 5.5. My best title value is going to be Kansas State at plus 1,300. My favorite long shot, Oklahoma State at plus 2,700. And my safest overall football prediction is that Texas Tech wins this conference, even if I'm not thrilled about the price that it takes to get there. All right, final predictions. My surprise team of the year is going to be Oklahoma State. Like, I get the skepticism. The team went 1-11 last year. There was a whole lot of hype about them initially, and then it kind of tailed off again. Think about what is actually happening in Stillwater, though, right? This is not a brand new group that's learning to work together from scratch. The quarterback knows this offense. The running back knows this offense. The top receivers know this offense. Multiple offensive linemen know this offense. The head coach brought the whole friggin' staff with him. This is a functioning system that just got transplanted directly into a program with real powerful resources behind it. And they do actually have resources right now because they switched over. As soon as they got rid of Gundy, all of a sudden, they're willing to fund things. It's amazing. And the schedule hands them the bottom 5 projected teams in the league, plus just one top 6 opponent all year. The 5.5 win total is really just the market reacting to a 1-11 record and defensive question marks. I don't think it's the whole picture. Like, for this to actually happen, the North Texas production has to hold up against bigger, faster Big 12 defenses. I think they can do that. Both lines have to survive, really, the jump in competition. Skylar Cassidy, he's got to get this defense to merely average. I think they can do that. They've got to steal a few close road games along the way. If all that clicks, Oklahoma State can win 8 or 9 ball games. They can walk into November with a real shot at Arlington. But the 5.5, I think they go over that. I think they get to a bowl game. My disappointment team is Arizona State. They lost too much. Like, there's no established quarterback. Top receiver is gone. Leading rusher's gone. All 5 starting linemen out of there. Most of the disruptive defensive production. Like, they've got 4 of the top 5 projected teams on the schedule. They play Texas A&M in the non-con. They won only one Big 12 game by more than 5 points last year. That 8-win season was not built on being a dominant football team. It was a string of tight finishes. And yes, this is the team that beat Texas Tech last year. But this ain't the same roster. It's harder to replicate because this roster is completely flipped over. The floor here for this team is probably 5 wins and no bowl game. As far as the backup pick for disappointment, I mean, it's got to be Houston, right? If those one-score results start swinging the wrong way, they got a pretty tough schedule too. So here is how it all shakes out for me. Championship game is going to be Texas Tech and BYU. Tech is going to be my champion. The team I think has the best shot at crashing the party is Kansas State. Oklahoma State, of course, my surprise team that I just talked about. My disappointment, Arizona State. My favorite over is Kansas State over 7.5. My favorite under, Cincinnati under 5.5. My favorite long shot is Oklahoma State at plus 2,700. And my final word on all of this is that Texas Tech has completely changed this conference. The Big 12 is not a league anymore where all 16 teams feel like they're rolling the same pair of dice every Saturday. Tech has got the best roster. They bought the best defense. They've got the cleanest schedule. And they've carved out real, tangible distance between themselves and everybody else. I mean, it is a canyon. Just inside, a canyon-sized chasm between them and everybody else. But everything underneath them, that's still the Big 12 that we know. BYU has got the stability. Utah's got the quarterback. Kansas State's got the schedule. Houston's got the trenches, right? Arizona's got experience. TCU's got a winning standard. Oklahoma State's got chaos. Strange road trips, some creative coaches, some dangerous quarterbacks. And there's just enough parity to ruin somebody's season every single weekend. And that is still very much alive in this league. It just has to climb a much bigger hill in Lubbock now. All right, that is going to wrap things up for the Big 12 today. Jump in the comments. Tell me what I got right. Tell me what I got wrong. Surprises I need to look out for, etc. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be here every single week throughout the season. But with that said, let's get out of here. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless college football and hopefully all of your tickets cash this week.
Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Subscribe, leave a review or comment, follow @GaryWCE on X, and check out the web store,